Welcome to Cyclops is Waiting for Me, an X-Men animated recap podcast with Wolverine and the X-Men, Episode 9, Future X. And yes, it was. I'm JC.
And I'm Rod. I know for you guys it's only been 2 weeks. For us it's been more than a month now, right?
It's been more than a month. So did you get COVID?
Not that I know of. Wait, was I going to get COVID?
You almost got COVID from a famous person.
Oh, that thing. Yeah, no,
that was, yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I tested negative and I didn't feel sick. However, 2 hours before this recording, my little princess Lucy, it took her almost 5 years. She's going to be 5. Actually, by the time this posts, she'll probably be 5. But she's almost 5. It took her almost 5 years to give me a coronary and go on an emergency vet visit that had a reflective bill of that. Lucy, you want to? She's so high right now. She's on pain meds. You want to show them your little like green bandage, like a little. Okay.
Let the poor cat sleep. She does not want to deal with our bullshit right now.
But she's been a trooper. So far everything looks okay. If anybody's wondering, although by the time you guys see this, you'll actually know. I'm still waiting on test results to come back. But we think it's okay. You're gonna hang in there, right? You have to stay around for a while. Anyway, Cyclops is Waiting for Me is our bi-weekly podcast series where we're going back and watching every single X-Men animated episode we can find. This podcast started with the original 1992 X-Men the animated series, building up to the release of X-Men 97. Along the way, we've completed X-Men Evolution and launched our companion interview show. Almost got through that. The Xavier Files.
So close.
And now that we have it confirmed that Season 2 of X-Men 97 will be dropping in 2026, allegedly. We're going to go by the Disney's word here. Ironheart was supposed to come out 3 years ago.
To be fair, we know that members of the X-Men cast have already recorded Season 3. They've said they're in process for recording Season 3, cool. So that's a good sign. Okay,
cool. So that they've actually said that publicly now.
Somebody said that in an Instagram post. So
cool. I was just saying because we live in this town.
You forget what we're allowed to talk about? Yeah,
because we hear things, and so I just never say anything because I don't know what I heard at a bar and what's true and what's not, and what so anyway, so we're dedicating this year to all of Wolverine and the X-Men.
Some quick reminders: we're a recap show about a series that started over 15 years ago. There are going to be spoilers, and if you don't want it spoiled for you, pause the podcast, watch the episode, come back. We're not currently sponsored by or affiliated with Marvel Animation, Disney, or Disney Plus.
And don't forget to follow us on social media at Cyclops IWFM Pod on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Facebook. And at the time of recording, TikTok is still here.
I can't remove it from the script because they keep renewing the damn thing.
I don't know.
Although you have to keep posting stuff.
Yeah. Well, also, hopefully, if you do follow us on TikTok, you'll notice that things are more consistent because it took 6-7 years. How long TikTok's been around? You can now schedule videos.
Yep.
So that's awesome for both my own TikTok and this podcast TikTok, because having multiple accounts is just nuts. So I can actually schedule things now. And I think you've been doing a series on there of unboxing the Topps finest cards.
Yes. So as of recording, I am at the end of box 2. In real life, there are 6 total boxes.
Oh, geez. Okay, so it's going to be going on for a while.
I had to call it at the end of 6 because at that point, there were so few cards that weren't duplicates that it wasn't justifying the cost of the new boxes. And that series is not cheap, so...
Yeah, man. So keep watching those. Maybe we'll be monetized on that someday.
Yeah, seriously. Help us get monetized on Instagram by just watching those. It'd be fantastic. Today, we are talking about Season 1, Episode 9, titled Future X. It aired on May 22nd of 2009. Currently sits at an 8.0 star rating on IMDb. So this is 2 months after the previous episode had aired.
Oh, okay. So kind of accurate to our timeline.
Yeah, it's we get a little bit ahead and then it does a jump. It's it was almost released in batches of 8 episodes is kind of what the vibe of it is. This is probably my favorite episode of the series so far.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Time traveling?
We kind of talked about this with the original series, then we went to Evolution, and now we're on Wolverine and the X-Men. This feels the most like an X-Men comic. Is the best way I could describe it. It's not necessarily the best superhero story, but it feels the most like the vibe I get when I'm reading the comics for the X-Men. So,
I can see that. Yeah, and there are plenty of superheroes in this one.
The episode kicks off with the previously on. It's the collar flashback where you learn about Trask, and then the girl whose name I forgot.
Not Bayonetta.
Not Bayonetta, yes. White outfit, not Bayonetta.
Well, you can keep talking. I'm scrolling back through my notes. I have the notes in the same file.
Yeah, it was like 3 episodes ago or something like that.
Gotcha.
It was before the Wolverine versus the Hulk episode. So,
gotcha.
And then we have Xavier in the future with the Sentinels. They do a great job of going right from the flashback into new content. Like, I actually thought that was still a part of the previously on for a hot second. They are actually really good about doing that. It's been like a consistent theme with this show. And it's Wolverine having a flashback, and he's remembering the fight with Girl in White and inside Trask Industries. You see the collar, and you find out that Xavier is re-examining his memories, but like in detail of like the little things he might have missed, but he saw it like in his periphery. Which timing wise, are you watching Black Mirror?
Not the current season.
Okay,
I've heard about it.
Spoiler free on this. There is an episode called Eulogy that lets people see moments from memories, and it kind of like helps them fill in blanks based off of like what they remember, experience, and then certain triggers help them remember more of it. And it very much felt like that, of like Wolverine's like so in the heat of battle, but he probably didn't pick up that the woman who, did you get her name yet?
Sybil Zane.
Yeah. That Sybil had stepped on to snag it.
Gotcha. Yeah, because at first I was like, wait, didn't we not see this finish out? And it was a nice little twist that it wasn't a danger room. I feel like...
Well, because there was the whole like trade-off with him and Gambit and shit like that too.
Yeah.
So I guess this was the whole Trask printed a second one, and she wanted both of them kind of scenario.
So like, I can't wait to watch Black Mirror, because I heard about was it a Mandela Effect episode that I love the gimmick for.
I've not watched that one yet.
Okay, so I won't spoil that one for you. But they went meta with it, so it goes beyond the platform. But
that's the one my friend was talking about, giving her an existential crisis then.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. And but what this scene reminded me of, since I hadn't seen Black Mirror yet, was the Captain Marvel movie, when the Skrulls were looking in Carol's memories, and they were like, zoom in on her name badge and stuff. So it's stuff that like, yeah, you probably did input, but like you weren't focused on. But if you could like rewind that memory, then you can go back into it.
Logan focuses on the master mold aspect of like, this is a thing, and Kelly's involved, so it can't be good news. And the interesting part of this Xavier is like, he's still very, very fresh to whatever is going on in the future. Also, it felt like they retconned the episode a little bit, because the last time we saw him in a future scenario, he was like leaving the mansion as it was getting destroyed or something like that.
Oh, gotcha.
So I don't know if that's like the time ripple effect as the excuse for it, where it's like, oh, because they stopped Storm from destroying all of Africa, then he was like, he got to stay in the mansion longer because whatever shit didn't hit the fan,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What was the answer in The Simpsons? It's a wizard.
I don't think I saw that. Or I didn't make it that far into the Simpsons.
It was either Simpsons or Family Guy, where they were like at Comic-Con.
I definitely didn't make it that far into Family Guy, if that's the case.
They're like at Comic-Con, they're like doing Q&A with like either Star Wars or was it Star Wars? One of the fandom things, and they're asking some of the creators, and the creators were the actual voices on the show, and they were like, well, how did this happen? How did this happen? They're like, whatever you can't explain was a wizard.
That seems more Simpsons to me, but I also haven't watched The Simpsons regularly since the movie came out. So
gotcha.
They kind of decided to split up there. Xavier is going to go look in like newspapers and do some research and things like that. And Logan is going to go back and check out Trask's facility. That's where you do see that future Xavier is still in Cerebro. Like I said, I thought that the mansion got destroyed, but I will accept ripple effect as time travel as to why there's a disconnect there. I think it's honestly like one of the few times you could have a continuity error, but it actually makes sense in context,
Yeah.
I love that he picked up a book that Beast was the author on. and had like that like, oh, my friend died moment.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, oh, Hank.
Yeah.
If only you were here.
And then a red beam shoots through the ceiling, and then you see it lift up, and there's a sentinel that's there. The only part that was inconsistent on that for me was the red beam was not the color of the beams for basically the rest of the episode. They were more like pink.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I didn't even pay attention to that.
I don't think it's a major thing. I don't think it's like I think it's just a coloring scenario. Yeah, but I was just...
Maybe when the animators were doing it, because this was still when they were sending it overseas, right, for like weeks at a time. So,
I don't know enough about this particular show's animation.
So whoever was animating it, maybe like let's see,
add that to the Stephen Gordon list.
There you go. Yeah. Maybe whoever's animating like mistook it for like a Cyclops thing or something. For
that's kind of what my vibe of it too was. It didn't feel like a sentinel beam because it was so red. You know?
I can't remember because of everything that's been going on today to put notes, but there was another scene either in this episode or the next one where Kitty comes up and she has gloves on, but she has nails. So whoever colored it like painted over her hands with the glove color, and it looked like it was supposed to be her like hands with nails on it, you know?
I did not notice that, but Kitty is in both episodes, so I don't remember which one that would have been. And then we cut into the animated intro. You see Xavier is getting chased by multiple sentinels and doesn't really have a good defense against them. He's just kind of like running away, and his psychic abilities can't really do shit against them.
Yeah, I think this is kind of to remind us that he's not telekinetic, right? He can just, and there's no minds in the sentinels to control.
Well, in these sentinels,
Sentinels,
Yep. This was one of the times I did have to turn on captions, though, because when they were saying unknown energy source, it was a garbled mess of robotics that I could not understand without this captions on the screen for me.
See, that's what TV sounds like to me all the time without captions.
Just in general. But you find out that the unknown energy source is them detecting Cerebro for the first time. And I guess the conceit there is because Xavier or whomever was not in Cerebro when everything was going on and the original massacre or whatever happened, that they didn't know that it was even a thing to be aware of.
Yeah. And you probably imagine like it probably takes a significant amount of energy to project through time, right?
Yes. Yeah, you're turning on the backup generators to project through Cerebro. I would agree with you on that one fully. Then they blow up the mansion on top, and then they shoot grappling lines through the edge of Cerebro, which doesn't seem like the best way to like handle delicate machinery.
Yeah, and I guess also at that point, I had never thought about it because we always see Cerebro from the inside, or like I guess this is still part of the X-Men movie design, right? Of Cerebro being that spherical room. The projections. I
am pretty sure that the spherical room was inspired by the movies and then became like one of the carryovers, kind of like Magneto's helmet being anti-psi blocking and stuff like that. So this
was the first time at least I had thought about like what that looks like outside. Is like, oh, it's just like a giant spherical bunker.
Yeah.
They took out of the ground.
It's weirdly aerodynamic, I guess. So over at the modern day Trask facility, the full team shows up to take on Trask. And I don't think they had called it this previously, but this time they actually described it as Trask Industries as opposed to an MRD facility.
Yeah, it was that in my like rang to me kind of like Stark Industries thing. I don't know if that was on purpose, you know.
It definitely had that same vibe, but I also think at the very least for Days of Future Past, when the movie came out, there was definitely Trask Industry, like on posters and stuff like that. I former guest of the podcast, Wally, for those of you who don't know, and I were roommates at one point, and I'm pretty sure that was the year we both went to Comic-Con and he came back with like a Trask Industries hat as like some swag from the event and stuff.
It just makes me wonder if they use that as kind of, you know how Marvel Studios would use like Inhumans in place of mutants for a while. If maybe since Fox couldn't necessarily, or no, this was after, it wasn't. Anyway, like maybe if Fox couldn't necessarily, or Nickelodeon or whoever has these guys, use Avengers stuff.
No, because this is technically the same world as Earth's Mightiest Heroes and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I don't know that.
I think it may have just been they decided to call it Trask Industries as opposed to an MRD facility.
Okay.
So, Logan in particular mentions that there's 2 cents, and really quickly I noticed in the background as that was happening, Forge's face I thought was miscolored at first, like as he's like the tiny dot face in the background. I was like, did they just like shade his face with green or something like that? And then you find out that he's there and he's actually put like face camo on.
Yeah, but like really bad face camo.
Yeah, like jungle face camo, despite the fact that everybody is there. Like Emma is in her all white gear and stuff like that.
I think, and Forge, otherwise from the camo, is in like a neon yellow and blue suit with a silver leg.
Honestly, the person who's most equipped from like a outfit color scheme perspective is Cyclops, probably, because at least his stuff is all dark.
Yeah, and he's got the coat.
Yeah, he's got the duster on top of a navy blue black outfit. So
I know you don't necessarily love this Forge, but I kind of like I kind of dig the like the geeky tech guy. You know that he's normally the guy in the chair. It feels like, and not necessarily. He's always fixing things, but like he's so excited to be on this mission. Everybody's like, calm down. He's
way more slapsticky than I'm used to for him. He's growing on me a little bit. He's never going to be as good as 97's Forge. Like that is the perfect version of Forge, but I'm getting into him as a character now.
I think also is because I know so many makers, especially in the creator and YouTube space, is like all the makers that I know are kind of like this Forge, where they're like slapsticky, like you said.
Like our friend who likes to make sculptures in their backyard of things.
Yeah, she's not. She wasn't even who I was thinking of, but like, yeah, like even like tech makers and stuff. Because if you're not slapstick and happy-go-lucky, then you're straight up just a supervillain. Because that's like really like intense work. And the friend that you mentioned, she has to go through so much to put those together. Like her life is constant defeat to make those things happen. So like if you're not slapsticky, like you're going to burn the world down at the end of those projects. You know?
That's why I'm in marketing, because I want to burn the world down.
Yeah.
Forge is like, he's ready to freaking go. Over in the future again, and FYI, guys, before we recorded this episode, I literally texted Rod. I'm like, even though our next episode has a guest, and I normally host the episodes with guests, I'm like, this is time travel.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'll just make your life easier, and I will host the one with the time travel.
Yeah, in this scene, I know you were already going to ask. The only ones I recognized were Bishop because of the tattoo or the scar or whatever on the eye. And then I only knew Marrow because she's happened so many times when I haven't recognized her. And it's like, there's a lady.
It's finally her.
There's ladies with bones sticking out of her face. Like, if this isn't Marrow, then they're like, I don't know who it is.
They also threw out her name, like, really later casually in a later scene. But it's almost like he says it so fast. It's like, because you get the intro to her, and Xavier calls her Sarah, like her actual name. Also, there's the girl with the flaming hair that is Firestar, who's we learned at WonderCon was not originally a mutant. That was a change that Larry and the team had gotten made for Spider-Man and Its Amazing Friends. Somebody had shared that with us.
Okay, yeah, because that's the last time I saw Firestar. Was that 70s or 80s? 80s?
No, 70s.
70s. Okay, yeah, because it had that da 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 da. I had that.
I could not pick that song out of a lineup, honestly.
I had that VHS. That's the song I think about for Spider-Man over the Spider-Man.
Okay.
Just because it was the first one I heard.
Yep. And then there was the kid who we would see later in the episode with the telekinetic powers. His name is Julian, also known as Hellion, who, especially as I was getting back into comics in 2005, 2006 era, really big in a lot of those like New Mutants comics and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with him.
They drop Xavier in, and you see Colonel Moss, who everybody loves because he's voiced by Michael Ironside.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yep. Also, did you recognize the voice of Bishop?
Oh my God, no.
So there's one thing that's super recent that literally same voice. He barely transforms his voice in it, but there's something also directly correlated to stuff you like that has nothing to do with X-Men.
Oh, he's a Mortal Kombat voice? Oh, man. I'm trying to think of those voices. For a game?
Movie.
Movie. Oh, he was in the movie.
He's a voice in the movie.
Voice in the movie? Okay, I don't know.
He was Goro in the Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh, damn. The original one or the one that recently came out?
That's what it says, the original.
Wow, okay.
Yep.
He's a bunch of grunts. So,
more recently, same voice actor. Have you watched Invincible?
No.
Okay.
I'm hearing I should, though.
So anybody who watches Invincible, there's a set of twins called the Maulers, and it is the same voice. It is Bishop and the Maulers are the same voice.
That's great. It's kind of like Patrick Warburton is just that's him.
He's just Patrick, yeah.
Wherever if he's Joe or.
And then the one I wouldn't expect you to get the voice on, Marrow's voice actor is Tara Strong, who has voiced 7 million things.
Yeah. Miss Minutes is probably the most recent big thing for Marvel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also Bubbles from Powerpuff Girls. But yeah, there's a little mini fight. And then I don't know if this was intentional with Colonel Moss with the cybernetics. He reminded me of this character called Ahab, who was in the original Days of Future Past storyline. He was the guy who controlled the Hounds, where they were the mutant hunters and stuff like that. But he very much had that Captain Ahab vibe, and that's also kind of how they wrote him too.
This is funny. This goes back to I know most characters through the action figures. I only know Ahab through the action figure. He had the I think he has stretchy arms or something.
Extending arms, yeah. Not like elastic arms, but he got taller and bigger, almost like the Apocalypse figure, right?
Yeah, they telescoped, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I missed him in the action figures, and I don't think I actually saw Ahab until I bought the Days of Future Past trade, and that was the first time I had ever read him. So
I don't know if I ever bought him. Either my brother got him. I don't think I got him, but I think we always saw him. He was always the one that there was 20 of in the story.
He was the one that there were 2 in a case of 12, and nobody was like, We're we need a 7th Wolverine, guys. A 7th Wolverine.
Another Weapon X.
Exactly. And you see there's the interaction between Xavier and Colonel Moss, and Xavier is just cool, I'm not going to let you activate my collar, and I'm going to let you think that you did.
I love that. This is the kind of stuff that I wanted to see happen in more of these shows, where it's yeah, use your powers.
Yep. So Bishop goes over to Xavier. They have their interaction. He's like, yeah, we got gathered by Wolverine. I heard all about you. We're the X-Men.
Yeah.
And that was that was a cool moment, because I'm so used to the other Bishop origin story where he was kind of the bounty hunter vibe, not I'm on the team since day one vibe.
You bring a good point up from before with the ripple effect of time. Yeah. With the ripple effect of time, because you got to wonder if that was the last ripple effect is this group of X-Men. But also, now I'm curious. Also, don't spoil this for us if you've already seen it. Now I'm curious if they're going to utilize that ripple effect thing, and it's an easy way to reuse characters and scenarios.
Can you have 3 different origins for Bishop, because each time a ripple makes him interact differently with Wolverine?
Yeah, right. Or even if it's not in a major way, even if they because everybody has a specific power, and Bishop in this one will see his powers get used a very specific way. If they need to use that again, they don't have to worry about keeping continuity. Wasn't he the leader of the X-Men? It's well, not in this timeline. He's something else, where he is a bounty hunter or whatever. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of even in the original series with Days of Future Past, there's one version where Forge is purely biomechanical because of all the shit that goes down, versus the other one where he's just he's old Forge, you know? You found out that Wolverine has been captured at some point, and Xavier is completely shocked about that. We get another character who I did not recognize at first because of the voice. I actually thought it was supposed to be Roberto da Costa, but that was not who he was. The guy who ended up turning purple later.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with them, and I kind of thought about Roberto too, but then I was I don't know enough about this character to know if that's just because I'm familiar with the design of the 97 character. So
the character's name is Kamal, and he is one of the Acolytes. Remember in the period in the 90s where you had the Acolytes were just a group under Magneto?
Just on the cartoon, but yeah.
Yeah, so he was just one of those.
Gotcha.
In the 90s. Is not a really like prevalent character outside of that.
I do like Bishop bringing in Domino the way that I wished Domino would have been referenced in previous. Because how many times on this podcast have I said, like, why not just hanging Domino out there? And in this one, he's like, yeah, so we got a bit of luck on our side.
Yep.
And she doesn't really... They just bring that in as kind of a MacGuffin.
Yeah, like you think that she's going to be like this big like thing during the invasion, and it's like honestly a minor scene later.
Yeah, he's just introducing. He's like, whatever. It's like the Simpsons wizard thing. Like, whatever you have questions about later is because Domino's here.
So everything is in the tower. You see that Hellion gets taken up there, and they basically say whatever goes in doesn't come out, and you don't really know why. There's sentinels that are just watching and just kind of like cool with everybody like meandering around, and Bishop points out, well, they need us. We don't know why, but they need us, because otherwise why wouldn't they just kill everybody?
Yeah, that was an interesting explanation, because I was like, why aren't they flagging that the Xavier doesn't have an activated collar yet? You know?
Yep. I mean, I guess the Sentinels trusted Moss is the concession for that. So
their line of sight's like way above. This is not a no one looks up situation.
Yeah. In the modern day, you have Kitty come up through the ground in front of these two guards, and Bobby kills them.
Oh yeah. Bobby should kill a lot of people. Although later on he does something to Forge. We're like, well, Forge is not fazed by that, so
yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
No, it's the whole like, oh, well, they're just frozen in place. It's like, if you are encased in ice long enough to be frozen in place, you're gonna die.
Yeah. Or at the very least be cryogenically frozen, right?
Yep. They open up the door. I love this version of Cyclops. He's like, let's go in loud, and just blast the door open. And it's completely empty. Emma has already scanned the two guards, who apparently didn't even know it was empty. They just know they needed to be in position. And then there's Sad Forge.
He didn't get to do something, and he's in his camo. I love the idea that the X-Men at that moment realized they probably just like murdered or severely concussed something like mall guards.
Yeah.
Because they didn't even know why they were there.
It's the same as when what's her face? Her name is forever just going to be locked out of my skull. Sybil.
Sybil Zane, yeah.
Like when she like drove through the gate in her first appearance for no reason other than to break her own car.
Yeah.
I still don't.
Yeah. It's like there's so many times when there's goons, you know, like tracksuit mafia people and stuff. But after
it's
Emma's
like those guys deserve it.
Yeah. After Emma's like, they didn't even know why they were here. It's like, oh shit, you just killed like some rent-a-cop.
Dude, it was probably a cop trying to get overtime, realistically. Right? They're like, Trask Industries, that sounds like a lame job. In the future, again, you get kind of like the recap of everything that's going on to the future group. And he's like, yeah, we need to go into the tower. He has the explanation of what Cerebro does and the emphasis as why it's so important. It's like, if we don't get that, nothing matters. And Bishop is very quick to be like, all right, I'm with you. Domino just straight up doesn't trust Xavier. And I'm curious, because it hasn't really been touched on prior to I think they called it the burst at one point, as opposed to like the snap or something like that. I don't know what the interactions ever were between Xavier and the Brotherhood, but specifically Domino and Xavier. Like, is there a reason why she particularly doesn't trust him, kind of scenario?
Yeah. Because also, wasn't she the one that yelled at him for giving the Sentinels a mutant tracker?
Yes.
Yeah. She's like, you gave them what? Why you should have just burned it down or something, you know?
Yep. Xavier explains that he's controlling Moss, and he's gonna use it to get into the tower because they think he's collared. Have some further interaction where it's like, oh yeah, we got people on the outside that are ready to go
that day.
Yeah.
They were gonna break everybody out.
Yep. They go into the tower with Moss. He's able to deactivate Bishop's collar, and they find where Cerebro is, as well as this, the other, he senses where the other mutant is. Mm-hmm. So they start spying, and you see that the Sentinel is somehow able to grab the power source from Hellion and duplicate what he's doing.
Yeah, that was a nice little twist, and because I'm not familiar if that happens in the comics, but like the Sentinels learning mutant abilities.
Not standard Sentinels, but there would be later versions of like mutated Sentinels and stuff like that were able to do that. Like for a thing that wants to murder a species so badly, they really like to emulate it.
It's been a long time since we've referenced this. I'm guessing you still haven't seen it. This is another Get Out parallel.
I was like, is he going to mention Get Out? Because I still haven't watched it.
Yeah, it's the
now it's to spite Joe Russo.
Yeah,
yeah.
And you also know too much about it. None of the twists are going to be surprising.
Dude, I don't remember most of the twists because I've forgotten them all at this point.
I just feel like you've heard so many different things referenced that by the time you're watching it, you're going to start putting
it's just going to start clicking.
You're going to be like, oh, that's why they said that. Oh, that's why they said this. But in this context, it's like, you hate this group of people so much, but you literally just want to be them. And so, bigotry.
Yep. At that point, Bishop also mentions Master Mold, so it's all kind of like coming together for Xavier. Mm-hmm. And Master Mold is tracking the brain patterns of Moss, sees something is going wrong, and then just literally is like, you're now a full-fledged Sentinel. And it's like, I think it was like rewriting brainwaves or something to that extent.
That was wild. Yeah, he kind of did what Trask did, right? In 97?
With Bastion, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like the techno stuff kind of took over and made him a Sentinel.
Yep. And that's where we get the first glimpse of Bishop's powers, obviously, because he doesn't have his collar on. And he takes that blast and shoots it back like a champ.
This is cool. These is when you know the writers or people advising the writers understanding the powers. Because this fight scene kind of reminded me of fight scenes in 97. We're like, oh, everyone's using powers correctly.
Yes.
Instead of like Cyclops burning a bush with his beam or something,
Or Domino shooting beams of light in the animated series. Yeah.
It's great. She's just like, if I'm lucky, I'll shoot lasers.
That's not how that works. And then our favorite thing to do, big fight.
Yeah, big old fight.
I will say I did really dig at one point where they had Sentinel Moss running on the banister, though.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So this is me thinking way too hard about the scene. If this is a facility that is only populated by Sentinels and Master Mold, why are there banisters?
Oh, yeah, because everybody can just fly, and they're also like...
they're robots, so they're perfect,
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
They want to be accommodating? I don't know.
Unless maybe it was built by humans and then they just murdered all the humans that were working for them.
We're just assume that.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we'll let them put the banisters so they think they're going to make it through. And then as soon as that last banister was in there, just done.
Yeah, very like Matrix, like the machines took over.
Yep. Xavier jumps multiple stories. I need more explanation of what his leg things that are allowing him to walk do, because he jumps like 50 feet. Like by himself. So
yeah, he's kind of like got that John Wick logic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because they show him like adjusting those a few times. I guess they want to remind us like, oh, these are mechanical.
Yes,
he's not just suddenly like able to like walk on his own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when he was in the bunker or the bunks with Bishop and Marrow and all them, you see he like literally has to pick up his own leg to put it in there, to show that that's what he needs to be able to function from a walking perspective.
Yeah.
So, he gets down to Hellion, is like, well, we actually could use some of your powers right now. And he's able to rescue him. They're able to create a barrier to prevent from getting shot and killed, basically, because this Xavier doesn't really have much of a defense from his power set. So the Sentinel that is fighting Bishop realizes Bishop is changing or is charging based off of the energy burst. So he's like, cool, we're going to evolve and switch to physical attacks. And Bishop is able to turn it around, rip a wire out of a wall, and then electrocute himself and the Sentinel, which only electrocutes the Sentinel.
Yeah. Now we know the Sentinels are kind of slow too, because Bishop took a lot of hits before they computed that.
I think they're trying to use the scientific method, which is if something happens, you have to test it multiple times to see if it's the same result. You don't assume chaos once is the final result.
I don't know. Based on Facebook posts, one anecdotal thing proves everything, right? That's scientific. That's doing your own research, isn't it?
Translation: most people on Facebook do not use the scientific method.
And also, whenever, especially, I would say millennials are guilty of this. Whenever millennial says, I read an article, it was probably a TikTok or a reel. That's why I started asking people, like...
Or at most, a Medium post.
Yeah, so I was like, what journal was that published in? And they're like, oh...
Journal. That causes the lights in the building to flash outside, and we see two characters. I almost texted you when this happened, but I was like, I'm going to let Rod get it himself.
So I didn't know Vanisher.
Well, I didn't think you would know Vanisher. But the other character being Berserker blew my freaking mind.
And I didn't even clock him then. Only later when he said it.
No, when they said his name later. Yeah. But I was like... I wrote Vanisher because I knew Vanisher from the X-Force comics run. And then I was like, and then underline of like, I'll write in the guy's name later. And it was Berserker. And I was like, oh, shit. Okay.
I love that, though. That kind of gave me the like 90s action movie, like comedic relief. Like kind of
like a little Lethal Weapon-y vibe.
Yeah, because like they're outside, they're like, is that the signal? Like, I don't know, it looks like to me. Yeah.
It feels like a thing you would see in like a Die Hard. I would agree with that.
Because it's like she said she would shoot up a flare. It's like, I don't know, the building exploded. That looks like a signal too.
So the one thing I forgot about Vanisher is what his real name is. And I think I literally gave a mental block to myself because his name is a pun.
Okay.
Telford Porter. Teleporter. I opened the wiki and saw the name and yelled at the screen.
Speaking of puns, have you started Last of Us Season 2 yet?
Not yet.
Because you know how the first season is about puns? Just a warning. They don't lay off of it. We're only one episode in. I'm
going to want Ellie to die is what I'm hearing.
Not her, actually. At this point.
Oh, good.
She's actually sick of it, but you'll see somebody else do it. And their credit, like... The writer and the showrunners of the show are so good, but if they sincerely wrote the joke that I'm referencing now, like I think I agree with all the other critics who were like, don't do comedy. Like this drama's your strong suit, but that pun that you brought in that first episode was like,
So after I yelled at the screen, remembering Vanisher's real name, the other Sentinels start to rally. All of the collars start to drop, and there's the character whose name is Artie, but he reminded me of the guy from the original X-Men the Animated Series intro, like the dude with the big head that was just running alongside the villains. Yeah. He looked a little bit like him. I was like, was that intentional or was that a reference?
Yeah, I don't know. It just looked like an alien to me.
Yeah, and I think he's supposed to be a separate character from it, but I was just like, gotcha. That looks like the pink guy. And then Vanisher pops in with a shit ton of guns.
And that's why I learned is like he teleports, I guess. Like
that is his power, is he's a teleporter. Also, recently in the comics, there was a story, X-Man Hunt is the name of it, and they were choosing between teleporters that they were using. Like it was literally one of the characters has a list of teleporters, and Vanisher is one of the teleporters that's there. In addition was the character Wraith, who is the one that has a similar name to me from the Deadpool movie. John, whatever his name was, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they ended up going with not Vanisher in there. So he... weird timing adjacency that I haven't read something with Vanisher mentioned in years, and then he was just there last week. You see a bunch of fighting basically goes down. There's lots of people saving each other. And then I put, they're saving Cerebro. A big Sentinel goes after Xavier. Domino is running around with guns and just hitting everything perfectly. Then I hadn't gotten his name yet, but then I put not Sunspot turns purple and then hits the wall.
Yeah, I couldn't grasp what his power was. The first time he did that, I thought he was like absorbing like whatever the material
That's what was. I thought too. Yeah.
And then he just kept turning purple.
Yep.
Also, like, were we You're supposed to believe, like, we supposed to get that the Sentinel or Master Mold had distilled Cerebro down to like 3 vials in like a caddy.
I think it was like basically at the end of the day, that's all you needed for it to work were those final pieces. So
yeah, because they were like, take this. It's like, wait, that was much smaller than you could describe.
And when Kamal takes down the wall, that is where we get the name drop of Berserker.
Such a random.
Yep. And then at first, I did not realize it was Firestar. I was like, and maybe Magma saves Marrow.
Oh, okay, I can see that.
Marrow returns the favor, electrocution on landing. Then there's a bunch of like back and forth, people getting saved. They get Cerebro. And then the only time he's shown in the episode, you have Thunderbird, who was one of those like legacy X-Men characters, knocks Marrow down and like leaves her for dead.
Okay.
I was like, that is not a great representation of that character who's traditionally like a damn hero. So, and Xavier makes the save. Mm-hmm. In the modern day, you know, they need to keep looking for Trask and, you know, just kind of getting the info dump from Xavier of you got to stop Master Mold from happening because it's a big part of what is going to lead to this modern future. And then, you know, we just got to stop things from getting worse. And the first time I watched this, I didn't realize that it was a fade and fade out, or fade out and fade back in, and I missed the original ending of the episode.
Oh, with Master Mold?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I was surprised, but I don't. In my, I've never seen Master Mold being female presenting. And so that was interesting.
It reminded me more of the character Danger, which is the Danger Room becoming like a living embodiment, which is a female presenting character. Than any version of Master Mold I had seen before.
But I guess it kind of like, if you think about it, like, I mean, Master Mold is a robot, it could be either or whatever, but having Master Mold to kind of like be a mother in a sense, like, that makes sense as well. Also, I don't know if this was implied or if I'm just reading too much into it, but I felt like they were implying that she had like absorbed the Cerebro technology. Yeah.
That's totally what I got, because it was like, here's a match, and then she just starts referencing a shit ton of mutants, and you do see Juggernaut on the screen.
Oh, see, I was already phased out.
Yep. That was the only one that stood out to me. There was one that is like, it may have been Lady Deathstrike, but I wasn't totally sure on it, but Juggernaut was obvious. So.
Oh, Lady Deathstrike, they're giving her back massages. The famous.
I mean, it's the same one in that universe, so yeah. Also, another episode was spoiled for me. Sabretooth is not dead.
Oh, okay.
He was in a thumbnail, so it was hard not to see it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So we're just the movie. Okay, so the writers
lied.
The writers didn't get what they wanted.
Exactly.
Put it that way. And that thing.
But yeah, that's how the episode ended, and like I said, it gave me the feel of a comic, which is all I want from a show like this.
I can see that too, because they did everything kind of like parallel, the present and the future and stuff. So I could see that as like the boxes on a comic, like in the comic book and stuff, the different panels and stuff. Yeah, presenting that like that story, and it is cool to see Xavier go on his own adventure instead of just being this like disembodied head like Zordon or something.
Yeah, it. Like I said, it was a little jarring for me of like, why is he back in Cerebro when they were like, there was an attack or there was like a collapse in the previous episode, but it's like, oh yeah, it actually makes sense from that ripple effect. And I kind of hope your theory is right of like, they keep ripple affecting Xavier because of the changes that are happening.
I'm curious. Yeah. I'm not even necessarily saying it's a prediction. I just think that'd be cool if they used that.
It's a great plot device. So
yeah, and it'd be one that made sense.
And it very much feels in line with like the stuff we'd seen with Bishop. Like when he's not wearing the bracelet, that's the only reason he remembers shit. And people like Forge are like, huh? You know?
And he doesn't have a baby to lose yet. I think Punker Ducky, I saw something she put up. She was making
photoshops of action figures.
Yeah, because everybody's using like this AI action figure thing, which stop that if you are.
The Chat GPT ones, which all look horrible.
Yeah, they're
regardless of if you like AI generative stuff or not. These look like shit. Yeah, they really do.
She made she actually spent time to like work on some. So I love that.
Yeah, she actually photoshopped shit. Yeah,
the Bishop one said like comes with a baby sometimes or something like that.
Yes.
was great.
Yep. Punker Donkey and I are now just constantly abusing each other with anything related to Cyclops online at this point.
I actually tagged Punker Donkey too because Gina Ippolito from New Rockstars had posted she got a kitten, puppy, kitten. I think let's say a kitten.
Mutant.
The day after the Remember It episode, and named him Gambit. The kitten celebrate. Oh no, the kitten's birthday was the day after. Remember?
Yes.
And so the kitten, she posted this little man turned 1 year old today, and I was like, at Punker Ducky, like a kitten named Gambit was born the day after your man died. You know, it's like not saying reincarnation, you know, but also for anybody who watches New Rockstars, this is like hashtag Gina was right, because Gina she's actually like a writer in TV series.
Yep.
And so maybe that's just maybe because she's in tune with that, she's able to call these things. But she's an informed version of my dumb calls. Like she called Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Doom before they.
That's a wild one for somebody to fucking pull off. That is nuts that she got that.
So there's a petition on the New Rockstars like fan base of like making a T-shirt that says Gina was right. So it's like. Not saying AJ needs to be on the watch for his job, but you know there's a kitten named Gambit.
Well, and to bring it all back in the comics in the modern day, there are tons and tons of stories going on where Gambit is basically a cat dad.
Oh, so, really? Oh, that's
yes.
so good. Maybe that's why she named him Gambit, I guess.
He wasn't at the time a year ago.
Oh, okay.
It started happening around July, I want to say.
Oh wow! So Gina,
it was about a year after the Hellfire Gala massacre. Real time year between, so it wouldn't have been during '97. So.
Oh wow! So this was like Gina was tangentially right.
Yep.
Good going.
But on that note, we have one more episode to record, and we have a guest, so we should probably wrap this up and stop making them wait. Thank you guys for joining us. If you like, whatever. If you like what you heard, we'd appreciate a rating on the podcast app of your choosing. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Scopely. That's not right. I said Scopely instead of Spotify. YouTube Podcast, CastBox. And if you have any thoughts, drop them into the comments for either the YouTube upload or the Instagram post. That was my worst outro ever.
Congratulations, we're back.
That's what happens when we don't record for a fucking month.
Yeah.